Hey, fellow fragrance enthusiasts and fellow fragrance lovers, welcome back. It's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance Channel, and today we're going to be talking about Neroli Woods from the house of Banana Republic. Now, first off, this is a very clean and some might even say soapy fragrance. It's a very inoffensive, kind of a safe fragrance, but once you actually look at the notes and you pay attention a little bit to the fragrance, there's a lot going on in this fragrance. So let's talk about the notes real quick. What's giving it this fascinating, interesting, clean, unique, almost tropical kind of smell? So first off, you do have orange blossom, which is giving it the neroli-like smell from, of course, neroli woods. And then you have some mandarin leaves, so they chose to use another type of orange, and that gives it a little bit more of a full-bodied. And definitely there's a little bit of freshness and something maybe slightly modern green in the background, but there's not much of anything green. But there's definitely some big players here. There's some frangipani, there's some peony. Peony is probably the biggest player of this fragrance, but the frangipani lends a little bit of a tropical vibe. And there's also an interesting coconut, also lending a little bit of a powdery, rounded nature. Now, the coconut is very, very much in the background. It never gets exactly very sweet or very, kind of fresh like a coconut can, like coconut water or anything like that. The coconut just gives this fragrance another layer and just gives it surrounds it and kind of softens the edges of this fragrance that kind of is bitter from peony and the orange blossom. It's kind of a almost a bitter orange fragrance with these interesting tropical vibes. If you're not familiar with frangipani, it's a very beautiful, almost suntan lotion smelling at times floral. So it's very crisp, it's very fresh, soapy, and clean for certain. As it dries down, there's some modern, almost like musky amber. I think there's described as some sandalwood. I don't get a lot of sandalwood, but there is that smooth, creamy woodiness. But more of course, the molecule kind. This fragrance definitely smells very modern. It's not Mysore. It's not any particularly super high quality sandalwood, but it's here. Supposedly, there's ebony wood on the dry down as well. If you're not familiar with ebony, it's a black wood that actually comes out of Africa, and it's very fascinating. It's one of the most desirable woods in the world because it's very hard, very weather resistant, and has all kinds of great properties. I don't detect a lot of that in this fragrance. As this dries down, there is perhaps a tiny bit of a sharp woodiness, just a little bit, but this fragrance never becomes inky. It never becomes like a dark vetiver kind of note. About the only other note that I know that has ebony in it is Dunhill Icon Elite. So I find that fascinating that they already had a pretty complex, pretty interesting fragrance on their hands, and then they decided to throw a little bit of weight and throw another curveball into the dry down. So I find this fragrance very, very well done. And even though it is very clean and it is very inoffensive, and I have like 3 or 5 sprays on me already, but let's do another spray. That's what the sprayer's like, and this fragrance, it's one of the best clean fragrances on the market. Prada Homme gets a lot of talk. I talk very highly about, things like Dior Homme O, but as a fresh, clean, inoffensive fragrance, when you don't want a lot of attention, when you just want to smell clean and fresh and out of the shower, a lot of blue fragrances can do that for you. But if you don't want a shampoo-like smell, if you don't want the blue craze, and maybe you just don't like the blue fragrances, and maybe you are a big fan of orange, this is where this fragrance is going to come into play, and that this fragrance is going to be a really, really good fragrance for you. So I think that this is a great, fragrance coming from Banana Republic. I was really impressed with this. Ferrari last year, came out and really impressed everybody, I think, for the most part. They improved a lot. Banana Republic also, I think, stepped out a lot. And we'll talk about the price and the value and, later into the video. Please don't go away. But this fragrance certainly is a good one. Let's talk about the performance real quick. This one's not bad. It probably gives you 5 to 6 hours. It's not. I'm not gonna deceive y'all. This one does have some woody base. It does have a modern, base to it with those light, almost aroma chemical like woods to the dry down. It does have a little bit of weight to it, but overall, this fragrance isn't gonna be an 8-hour fragrance. So if that's a killer for you, this might not work for you, but this certainly is going to smell very nice and have the right amount of performance for just about any situation where you might want to be more, again, inoffensive and safe. This can be worn to the office, even though it does have a little bit more of a slightly tropical vibe, a twist, to the average soapy, clean fragrance, I still think this is very appropriate for any situation. Even the office. So it smells clean. And of course, bitter orange. I think that always works at the office, anyways, and peony. So this fragrance is a winner through and through. Projection is going to be a little bit on the softer side. It's not going to project pretty heavily. Maybe about average performance overall. For a clean fragrance, overall, this actually has pretty good performance. If you compare this to Prada Prada Homme probably lasts a little bit longer. This projects a little bit better in the opening, in my experience. The Dior Homme O is a little bit lighter in how it feels, and it's probably the best performer overall for these styles of fragrances. But this one's no slouch. I mean, for this style fragrance, if you find other clean, soapy fragrances, this is one of the better ones. Mugler Cologne, and it was repackaged, in their new Mugler line. Probably, smells more distinctive, maybe has a little bit more sillage, but has about the same performance as this one. So let's talk about the compliment factor, and then we'll talk about maybe why or why not you might be interested in this fragrance. Compliment factor wise, of course, with everything going around in the world, I haven't been able to go out and get as many people's opinions about fragrances, really. So I have to be very transparent about that, but this fragrance is very clean. It's very fresh. And a lot of the time when, I wear these kinds of fragrances, this is a fragrance that doesn't get me a lot of compliments, I have to be honest. But what can a fragrance like this do for you? It can make you not only feel better in how you walk and how you talk and how you feel, and people definitely notice that, but it also, if people get close enough to you to act in a personal conversation, maybe you're doing an interview, maybe, you actually, the fragrance speaks with you. And this is what this fragrance can do for you. This fragrance speaks with you instead of for you. When you walk into a room, it's not going to announce your presence. It's not going to beg for attention. And I really like a fragrance that can do that. So this is probably my new incognito fragrance. When I just want to smell very clean, fresh out of the shower, but I don't want to smell like I'm trying to be overtly attractive or put on a show or, to really draw big attention. So it works really, really well for that. Again, you probably won't get a lot of compliments. You probably won't, have people chasing you down. But when people are around you, when people are close to you, they definitely will see you in a better light with this kind of fragrance. So what is the price and what's really going on in this fragrance? Full retail price is $60 odd, but you can easily find this at FragranceNet. And I got this from the Fragrance Group, who were very generous enough to send this my way. Sometimes these are hard to find. Sometimes they sell out really quickly. Neroli Woods was one of the ones that got a good amount of talk and, a little bit of popularity. I don't want to say hype. I still don't think this fragrance really has enough popularity behind it. It really stands up to things like Artisan Pure. It's one of the great, fresh, clean fragrances on the market these days. It's a little bit interesting and a little bit different. So if you're not able to find one of these Banana Republics, I certainly would check out the Fragrance Group, and they'll have it for you. And they have good service as well. So if you do find this on the discounted market, it's going to be close to $30. And these are 2.5 ounces. These are a little bit smaller than your average full-size bottle. But I do have to say that these come with a beautiful presentation. It looks almost like a niche fragrance. I'll show y'all real quick. It's like a niche fragrance with its presentation. Not only is the glass high quality, it's contoured, but it also comes in a box that's almost like a niche fragrance. So I'm personally very impressed with the presentation. The cap is heavy, it's mostly made out of metal, and it comes in snug into place. For a fragrance that's $60, and this is like a fragrance that's just sold in an average mall, I think that they really stepped up their game with this one. And let me show you all the glass real quick. Hopefully you can see how good this glass is. It's contoured very well, and it's thick for sure. So very nice. I think that they outdid themselves. Neroli Woods by Banana Republic. Anyways, let me know what's your favorite soapy fragrance, what's your favorite clean fragrance. What do you think about this one? I was very impressed with it overall. It is a little bit more sour. It's not particularly as sweet as some modern fragrances, but it's a really good one. Really like this fragrance. Let me know, again, in the comment section below. If you like my content, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join the fragrance family. And I'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay well, and wear what you love. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.